Caleb Sweet Hands Plant stops Mike Lee. Easy work in the third round. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Man, I'm out here in Las Vegas. Caleb Plant, congrats. Shout out to my dude. He just got the victory. And just like his nickname, Sweet Hands, that's what he displayed. He looked real good in there. I didn't know too much about Mike Lee. I knew he was coming down from a bigger weight division. I did go to the weigh-in as well because I'm out here in Vegas, and I seen that Mike Lee, you know, he looked like he had a pretty big back, and he just looked, you could tell he came from a higher division. He was coming down. Caleb destroyed him. You know, he's an undefeated fighter. He looked like a rugged guy, limited on skill, and you know, Caleb just put on a masterclass ass whooping. It's really what it is. So shout out to Tennessee, y'all got one. Caleb Plant successfully defended his crown. And he did it with swag. You know, he looked saucy, and he did it with fashion, in great fashion. I really like what I'm seeing from Caleb Plant. I really think his last fight, I went to that too. I covered that fight with Jose Uzcategui. Was definitely a more difficult fight, and that was a coming of age type of fight that he needed to reassure himself what he already felt. I've interviewed Caleb Plant years ago, you know, before he was even, you know, in the picture. He just wanted a title shot. So it's been a long time coming. He's wanted this moment for himself, for his family, for his fiance, for his daughter. And, you know, he's always been passionate. I remember him telling me about how George Groves came out to Vegas and they sparred. And he's like, man, he's a world champion now, and I'm doing my thing, you know, in sparring. I don't want to say too much. Anyway, he said it in the video. You guys can go check those videos. But I think the Uzcategui fight really prepared him, you know, because that was a difficult fight. You have to look at Uzcategui. He was in two good fights with Andre Durrell, and he stopped him in the second fight. Well, the first fight ended kind of weird, but he looked good throughout rounds in both of those fights. And I like this, you know, I like this super middleweight. Super middleweight is definitely heating up. I went to the Errol Spence versus Sean Porter press conference. The videos will be appearing. Some of them already made it to my channel. If you're new, consider subscribing. But the co-feature of that is David Benavidez and Anthony Durrell. And David Benavidez, he says that he wants to fight Caleb Plant. You know, obviously he has to handle business and try to get his belt back with Anthony Durrell, who's a guy he says he respects as a fighter. He's rugged. And he says after that, he said he would love to fight Caleb Plant. He wants to show he's the best super middleweight. He said he'll also be willing to fight Canelo even, but he says he'll knock out Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant showed tonight that, you know, if someone knocks him out, they're going to have to put it together. You know, they're going to have a lot of the right components. So it's an interesting style match because Caleb Plant, he looks like ever since his surgery, he looks a bit sharper, you know. And you never know with the surgery, you don't know how that's going to affect a person. It could be good, you know, it could have fixed the problem. So it could be good in that regard. Whatever was maybe hindering them, maybe going through that makes you stronger. You can also become mentally stronger during that downtime. And it looks like that's the case for Caleb Plant. Some guys go through a surgery and injury and they never look the same. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see what Keith Thurman looks like versus Manny Pacquiao, because that's obviously his toughest test since his elbow surgery and stuff like that. So Caleb Plant looks like he's developing. You know, I think the Uzcategui fight definitely gave him confidence, and it's one thing to think it and know in your head versus actually achieving it and doing it and having something to show for it. So he has that IBF belt. I'm really liking the super middleweight division. There's been back and forth banter from Caleb Plant and David Benavidez, particularly, two guys who are aligned with Al Heyman. And I think that's a feasible, realistic fight. David Benavidez, very good fighter. He's about, 6'2". He's fast hands. Him and his brother been fighting, comes from a fight family. Very, very good fight. Caleb Plant, he's offensively starting to get off, and he looks really sharp. He dropped Mike Lee 3 times. 3 or 4, I might have miscounted, but he dropped him in the first round, and he was catching Mike Lee. He was too reckless. Like, he got dropped, I think, in the 3rd round, and you could tell he was rocked and hurt, and he tried to run at Caleb Plant. You know, you shouldn't do that. It's like a waste of energy. Plus, you don't know how your legs are. But he was like swinging for the fences. That feeds into a fighter like Caleb Plant. You can tell Caleb Plant very cerebral, and he's methodical. He's trying to pick his shots. He has ring IQ. The commentators did a good job of, you know, Lennox Lewis and Goosen. They gave Caleb Plant a lot of praise. Like, man, this guy is sharp. You know, he's an intelligent fighter. And Floyd Mayweather is the king of this, and he told you, you want to last in this sport, you know, you got to pay attention to your defense. Moving up in weight is a process, you know, and you got to just hone your skills, overall hard work, dedication. And you could tell Caleb Plant put in the work, because he looks superb. Again, Mike Lee didn't know too much about him, but a guy coming down in weight, undefeated, who's rugged, that could give guys problems. But Caleb Plant is an expert boxer, and he tore him up. You know, he chopped him down and lived up to what he said he was going to live up to. So bigger and better things. We got to see what happens to Anthony Durrell. That's my guy too. Shout out to David Benavidez as well. It's a very interesting 168-pound division. Caleb Smith, that could be a good fight. Caleb Plant versus Caleb Smith. Their names almost sound kind of similar, their first names. That could be a fight in the UK. And Caleb Smith is a big dude as well. He has some power. He looked pretty sharp. But again, I can't really gauge that off of Hassan Indam, because that was a middleweight fighting at super middleweight, versus Caleb Plant at least fought a guy who was undefeated at a higher division coming down. So, you know, the sky's the limit. There's some really good, interesting matchups, and they seem feasible. At least the super middleweights, that particular division, it doesn't look like there's too much politics that would perhaps get in the way of those fights happening. So for now, Caleb Plant, excellent performance. He did his damn thing, looked sharp, 3-4 knockdowns. I lost track, but his defense was on point, ring generalship, his offense, short shots, counter punching, looked very confident in there, and he moved flawlessly when needed. He just did what he wanted with this dude, and this is kind of what he said. You know, I don't know why Mike Lee kind of came in. Maybe he was trying to amp himself up. I don't really know, but he bit off more than he could chew. Rugged, kind of sloppy, and you know, he was going in there off heart, but that's not the way to beat a cerebral fighter with ring intelligence like Caleb Plant. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.